it might have got to the point where I can't ignore people asking about the legato stuff. So I wanted to use this as an opportunity just to talk quickly about my approach generally, and then to ask you guys to comment exactly what it is that you're wanting to know from me, so that I can put together something useful in this topic. I guess in terms of, there are other guitarists out there that have done stuff on legato technique which probably are worth looking at. For instance, Tom Quayle has done quite a lot of stuff. I think he kind of plays exclusively legato. There's a guy called Marshall Harrison who does quite a lot of stretches and four-finger legato stuff. I wouldn't say I'm as deep into the legato thing as those guys, but if you are really wanting to get into that, I'd look at those. But yeah, please leave some comments and stuff about what it is that you want to know from me. The intro thing I played there was kind of, I think, one of the kind of leaders of this genre of playing, if you call it that, or style, and that's Alan Holdsworth. And I think there's a lot you could learn from his kind of legato approach. And part of what he talks about is all hammer-on approach. So this isn't something I'm strict about at all, but Alan talks about, so obviously you've got a hammer-on, or you've got a pull-off, and that's the basic mechanics of legato generally for most people. Alan talks about having all hammer-ons, so for me what that practically means is that you're trying not to do this thing. So you're not an obvious pull-off that kind of pulls you out of pitch. So my pull-offs are kind of a combination between a pull-off and a hammer-on. Then another thing to mention is that I'm picking string changes, which I guess is kind of a Satriani-ish approach. So if I was playing a scale all the way up, my typical legato technique would be to pick each string change. It's worth experimenting. Tom Quayle talks about this as well, doing practice maybe playing without doing that pick of the strings. Something to practice if you don't want to be dependent on the right hand is doing more left hand focused stuff, so perhaps obviously using your right hand for muting still will help if you're not one of the people that uses whatever they're called. Yeah, so one of the other things that I try to work on, it doesn't always come out in my playing, but is to do runs, and this isn't that Alan Holdsworth talks about, that aren't just but I'll try and change up the order. So take your 3-note string per string patterns by all means, but change up the order. So that you've got even uneven amounts of notes on strings, or one descending note, one ascending note, you know. that kind of thing is really difficult, but it's worth practicing, and practice it slow as well. Typically I wouldn't necessarily use this much gain and distortion whilst I'm practicing it. You kind of want things that work both with gain and without. So ideally, if you've got a decent legato technique, it should work clean as well, is what I'm aiming for anyway, so I can use it in a jazz context. A lot of people do things with their right hands as well, hybrid picking wise. That's not an approach I particularly use with legato technique. I do use that for chord melody, but for me, I don't find the use of fingers suits my playing. So yeah, those are just some general thoughts that I wanted to just put out there for a minute. In terms of practicing this stuff, I would start slow with a metronome, obviously, trying to keep things even. And often descending is the harder discipline than ascending, because you've got that whole pull-off hammer-on thing to negotiate. So I would be careful not to do what I did, which was focus more on the ascending than the descending. Yeah, there's some thoughts for now. If you want to leave a comment of the kind of things that would make a series or a video on my legato useful, if you could let me know, and I'll start putting that together, because it's a question I get asked quite a bit. So cheers for now. Bye.